The next adjacent level now would be A1C, which is an extension of the one just given, in which there is greater freedom of action, mobility, and experience. Here, to some extent, there is some participation in the events perceived. There is no need to go deeply into any of these beyond this point, because ordinarily you will not be involved with them, and they lead into realities that have little reference to your own. They are states of consciousness too divorced, and under usual circumstances, this is far as your present consciousness is able to go in this particular direction. The first state, A1A, is the most practical and the easiest for you, but often you must still have a good feeling for the A1 level before you are willing to take that next adjacent step. It allows for great expansion, however, within its limitations. Using it, you can discover, for example, what would have happened if I did this or the other. Remember, these are all adjacent levels going out horizontally. Directly beneath A1, now you will have A2, which is a slightly deeper state using the analogy of up and down direction. It is less physically oriented than A1. You still have excellent lucidity and awareness. This state can be used to explore the past in your terms of reference within the probable system that you know. Reincarnational past are known to you here, and if some personal malady cannot be solved from A1, you may have to go to A2, discovering that it originated from another existence. This state is distinguished by a slower breathing pattern, and unless other directions are given, by a somewhat lowered temperature and longer alpha waves, a slower frequency. There is still relation to environment, however, and awareness of it. This may be purposely blocked off for greater efficiency, but it is not necessary. In many cases, the eyes may be open, for example, though it may be easier to close them. Here, sensitivity is quickened, without necessarily following the methods given in A1. The mental, physical, and feeling aspects of past personalities will appear. They may be perceived in various ways according to the characteristics of the individual who is in this state. This can be used to discover the origin of an ideal in the past, or to find anything that has been lost there, as long as it is within your probable system. Directly beneath this is A3. You have an extension again here, dealing with mass issues, movements of land, the history of your planet as you know it, the knowledge of the races that inhabited it, the history of the animals, the layers of gas and coal, and of the various ages that swept across the planet and changed it. A4 brings you to a level that is beneath matter formations, a level in which ideas and concepts can be perceived, although their representations do not appear in the present physical reality that you know. From this layer, many of the deepest inspirations come. These ideas and concepts, having their own electromagnetic identity, nevertheless appear as the symbolic landscape at this level of consciousness. This is difficult to explain. The thoughts do not appear as pseudo images, for example, or assume any pseudo materialization, yet they are felt vividly, perceived, and picked up by portions of the brain, those seemingly unused portions for which science has found no answer. These ideas and concepts obviously came from consciousness. However, they represent incipient, latent developments that may or may not occur in physical reality. They may or may not be perceived by any given individual. The characteristic, interest, and abilities of the personality involved will have much to do with his recognition of the realities within this layer of consciousness. The material available, however, represents building blocks for many probable systems. It is an open area into which many other dimensions have access. It often becomes available in sleep states. Complete innovations, world-shattering inventions, these all lie waiting, so to speak, in this huge reservoir. Strong personal conversions are often effected from this level. Now, any individual can pass through these levels and remain relatively untouched and unaware, can travel through them unperceiving. The overall intentions and characteristics of the personality will determine the quality of perception and understanding. The material mentioned is available in each of the levels of consciousness given, but it must be sought out either through conscious desire or strong unconscious desire. If it is not, then the gifts available and the potential simply remain unused and unclaimed. The states of consciousness merge also one into the other, and it is obvious that I am using the terms of depth to make the discussion easier. Starting with the ego or waking consciousness as the outer self focused toward external reality, these states are broad, more like planes to be explored. Each one, therefore, opens in great adjacent areas also, and there are many paths to be taken according to your interest and desire. As your ordinary waking state perceives an entire universe of physical data, so each of these other states of consciousness perceive realities as complicated, varied, and vivid. It is for this reason that it is so difficult to explain the experiences possible within any given one. A5 opens up a dimension in which the vital consciousness of any personality can at least theoretically be contacted. This involves communicating not only with past personalities in your terms, but future ones. It is a level of consciousness very seldom reached. It is not, for example, the layer used by most mediums. It is a meeting ground in which personalities from any time or place or probable system can communicate with each other in clear terms understood by all. Since past, present, and future do not exist, this is a level of crystal clear communication of consciousness. Those involved have an excellent knowledge of their own backgrounds and histories, of course, but in this state possess also a much larger perspective in which private and historical backgrounds are seen as a portion of a greater perceivable whole. At this level, messages literally flash through the centuries from one great man or woman to another. The future speaks to the past. The great artists have always been able to communicate at this level, and while living, literally operated at this level of consciousness a good deal of the time. Only the most exterior portions of their personalities bowed to the dictates of historical period. For those who reach this state and utilize it, communication is clearest. It must be understood that this communication works in both ways. Leonardo da Vinci knew of Picasso, for example. They are great men and women who go unknown. There are great men and women who go unknown. Their contemporaries ignore them. Their achievements may be misunderstood or physically lost. But at this level of consciousness, they share in these communications. And at another level of existence, their achievements are recognized. I do not mean to imply, however, that only the great share in this communication of consciousness. A great simplicity is necessary, and out of this, many of the most lowly, in men's terms, also share in these communications. There is an unending conversation going on throughout the universe, and a most meaningful one. Those from both your past and your future have a hand in your present world, and at this level, the problems that have been met and will be encountered are being discussed.